Good morning, Facebook. Here we are again with Monday Morning Motivation. Again, I'm Norman Hartman, and I'm excited to start the day. Let's jump on. For those of you guys that have been with me for a while, thank you. I really have I believe I've gotten more out of this than I put into it. Because anytime you have to commit yourself to something, it develops character. I can talk about that for a few moments as we get started. It's important that you do things or put yourself in position to develop your character because character is truly important. Good morning, Josh. Good to see you, man. Good morning, Juan. As we're getting started, I'm talking about developing character, how it's important putting yourself in positions where you can consistently develop yourself, right? We all want to get better. We don't want to find ourselves in the same position that we were last week or even last year, but we always want to continue to move forward. All right, so I want to make a quick announcement here. We're going to continue to move forward. With our financial consultant that was going to be on this morning, we had to push out yet again, but we're probably going to do what we're going to do is maybe a hump day Q&A. So just continue to be open to that. Hey, delay does not mean denial, right? So just because there is a delay does not mean that it's not going to happen. We most certainly are going to make sure that it happens. Will and I have a great relationship. He's just a little bit under the weather. So definitely I want him to focus on his health until he can get back in shape and be here with us and excited. I want him to be in full force once he's here. But I do have something prepared for today. See my cousin out there. Good morning, Vince. Just want to share with you guys about RNG. What is RNG? Okay. So I'm going to get into that in just a moment about what is RNG. So we're just making a segue. Before we get started, I want to do a quick shout out to someone, and they did not know that I was going to do this quick shout out to them. But this is Denise Patterson. Denise Patterson, she has her CD or her album or single called Moving You Forth. Great single. I love it not just because of the music, but I also love the fact that she ministers. She does a great job. Again, Denise Patterson, Moving You Forth. She's normally here. She's been a live supporter for a long time. So if you want to get her single, please drop a remark down in the comments below, and I'm sure she will respond in kind. Okay, let's move forward with RNG. So I've been doing a lot of reading. I've just resolved that if you're going to move forward in life, you got to be taking in new information. You just can't depend on the things that you've learned before, but you have to be open to getting more information. And so I've been able to get some more information about different laws, the way that the world works, the way that people interact with each other. And I'm going to deal with the R part first, and that's called reciprocity, or to reciprocate something. And a lot of us, I'm sure we've been taught this before. We've heard the law of reciprocation. So I want to start by just making sure that we have the same basis when we're talking about reciprocity. So when we're talking about to reciprocate, means what you do for one person, that person does in kind for you. Okay. If you have a bag of Skittles and I have a bag of M&Ms, I give you one M&M, you give me one Skittle. So that's reciprocity. And that's generally how people respond. You know, you think about it, you treat people well, they generally treat you well in return. You know, you do a favor for someone, you come through when they need you, and they come back and they need a favor done for them. You generally return that favor, and that's generally, in a general sense, how most people respond, because we all understand that we work better together. If the more favors and the more that you do that is favorable for another person, the more that person is willing to do for you. Okay. So I'd also like to say that that law of reciprocity works in two ways. It's both direct and indirect. Direct means it's just what I explained. If I do something for you, then in kind, you do it back for me. But there are some times that you do something for another person, and the benefit does not come from that same person. It can come from another source. So recently, and I love talking about finances. And again, for those that are jumping on, we had to push back once again on our financial consultant being here. He's going to be here, but we're just allowing him to take care of his health. But going back, I love talking about finances as well, and financial health, economics, because a lot of us are in positions where we need to understand or have a better handle on our finances. And once we have a better handle on our finances, then we're able to move forward and do some of the things concerning our purpose that have been held up, because we're trying to pay the bills, we're trying to pay off debt, do all those sorts of things. So I love making sure that people are prepared for that. So I had an opportunity to do this for 6 weeks, and I volunteered all of those 6 weeks. And I wanted to do that. I asked to do it that way without any type of compensation because of the group of people. It was just an honor and a privilege for me to do it that way. So whereas, you could be thinking I provide a service and directly you get compensated from that person that you provide, or that person or group of people you provide the service to, sometimes it can come in ways that are indirect. So I finished the financial sessions, and got over to one day just randomly. I was at a anniversary church service, and we're there. The music was good, the service was good, the word was good, and my wife Anna and I were there, and we got to the point where the kids were getting a little restless, and we started to pack them up. And so as we were packing them up and standing, getting ready to walk out, the pastor asked me, hey, are you still in the banking arena? And I said, no, I've moved over to ministry full time, but I still volunteer myself out in the community. I still meet with people to talk about finances and talk about economics and different things of that nature. And so he says, hey, you guys need to go and connect with this young guy. He's in the kingdom. He knows what he's talking about. And if there's anybody that I would recommend, it would be him. And so it was amazing, because I'm like, wow, here I am sitting in the service. The guy that's delivering the message, I haven't had a serious conversation with him in over a year. So obviously he had no idea that I was, that I was doing this, or that I just done this 6-week segment. But he, gave this PR for me, and I ended up getting several calls after he did that. So it's amazing how the law of reciprocity works, and that I was willing to volunteer myself or volunteer my time, and it came back in kind in another way that I didn't realize. And so a lot of us, we have to keep our eye on the ball and really manage how we treat people. It's important how we treat people, not just because of how they're going to treat us, but we realize that things come back in kind full circle. So the law of reciprocity is not just concerning how we treat people, but it's also concerning how we treat opportunities. During that 6-week time frame where I was providing the information, I did it with the same amount of excellence as if I was getting paid. Okay? So whether I was getting paid $5,000, whether I was getting paid $0, it really didn't matter, because I wanted to provide the same level of professionalism as if I was getting paid. Remember last week we talked about getting in the habit of doing more than you're paid for. Well, those two laws kind of couple together in terms of doing more than you get paid for. And reciprocity says, you know what? Now in return, I'm going to give you more than you put in. I put in my services for one group, and out of that, I ended up getting 4 phone calls. So you see how the law of reciprocity works. You put in more initially, how you get paid than you get paid for, and then on the other end, in kind, you get paid back even more. Okay, so that's the R part. That's reciprocity. The G part that actually goes hand in hand in that is the golden rule. Okay, a lot of us, I'm sure everybody's heard the golden rule before, but I want to state the golden rule and maybe ways that we haven't heard it before. So the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Great, we all have heard that. But what's the inverse of the golden rule? Don't do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. Okay? So it's just as important to do the right things or to not make sure that you're not doing things incorrectly or doing negative things, as it is making sure that you do the right things. Okay. So again, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But the inverse of that is do not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. Stated another way, the golden rule, do unto others as if it is going to be done to you the same way. Do unto others as if it is going to be done to you the same way. So doing things or treating people treating people in a way that you're mindful, hey, the way that I treat this person, someone else will in some way, shape, or form, whether directly or indirectly, treat me the same way. Okay? So if I'm kind to someone, I'm kind not just because I want that person to be kind, but I'm kind because I want other people to deal with me kindly. And I realize if I sow seeds of kindness to other people, then in some way, shape, or form, whether directly from that person that I'm kind with or indirectly with another source or another person, other people are going to be kind to me. Okay? So this principle can be spread out in so many different ways. It can be spread out in business. It can be spread out in relationship. It can be spread out in terms of how you live your life, right? That golden rule is a principle. Now, I want to be transparent in saying that, I don't always get it right. None of us do. And I can think the cool thing about this or the good thing about this is I've been able to hold up the mirror to myself and see which areas I'm lacking in, right? Where did I go wrong? Who did I treat unfairly? Maybe should I have been upfront with someone? Was I dishonest with someone? And realize that those things come back. All this for the past few days, I was evaluating myself, and I had to be honest with myself. I failed in that area fairly recently, where someone needed my help, and I should have been there for them, and I allowed other things to get in the way. I wasn't as diligent as I should have been to help that person. And the law of reciprocity says directly or indirectly that can come back in kind. Now, I'm not fearful of that. Here's how I reconcile it is, you reach out to that person and say, hey man, hey sis, I dropped the ball. I should have done this. I should have been there. I gave you my word or whatever the case may be, and get it right. Make sure that you make amends. And this has happened before, where someone's reached out to me before, and in a time where they needed me, and I wasn't as responsive as I should have been, and in kind, I needed to have something from them, and so I reached out to them, and that law of reciprocity came right back. They weren't as responsive as I wanted them to be at the time, but it did not permanently damage the relationship. We both got that out of our system. And the next time we just we were a little more responsive with each other, realizing that, hey, I just can't treat people any kind of way. I can't treat opportunities any kind of way, but I need to treat all of them fairly, as if it's going to come back to me in some way, shape, or form. Okay. So how do we use this in terms of the golden rule? So you always need to be mindful. So if somebody reaches out to you, or someone gives you an opportunity, a business opportunity, how should I respond to this? Okay. And it does not mean that you're walking on eggshells with everybody, trying to please everyone and make everyone happy. That's not what I'm talking about. So there may be some situations where someone reaches out to you and asks you for help. And if you are overstretched, or you really don't have the time, or maybe you really don't have the desire, maybe this is not an area that you're passionate about, and so you find a way to be honest with them and say, hey, I really would love to do this, but right now my focus is really captivated in other things, and I don't want to overcommit. And because I don't want to overcommit and let you down, I just want to be upfront with you. Hey, that's perfectly fine, because they're going to find someone else to fill that position. But in the same way, they have respect for you because you were upfront. You didn't waste their time. You made sure that you were able to help them by moving them along faster. Okay. Also, let's say if it's something that you really don't have a desire for, how can you be honest with something that you really don't have a desire for? Hey, I really appreciate you reaching out to me concerning this. Right now, there's some other things that I'm truly focused on. If there's something in this, and I've done this before, if there's something in this particular area, for instance, now that I'm focused on finance and helping people build their economics and make sure that they're able to excel, that's what I'm focused on. And so, I mean, as much as I love doing community service, I don't have the same amount of time to, uh, do the financial teachings, build homes, counsel, um, school supplies. I don't have time to do every single thing that is out there to do. But what I can do is say, you know what? I feel like this is a great cause, and I feel like there's some way that I can support. Let me let you know what I do. And if there's a way that I can support you in this way, then hey, let's partner, let's talk. Because I feel like I'm my best self when I'm giving back in this particular way. And so you're not going to be able to say yes to everything or please everyone. That's not the goal here. But to realize, okay, if I'm treating people this way, then I expect in some way, shape, or form for people to treat me this way. That when I reach out to people and ask them for help, that either they're going to help me or they're going to be upfront and honest with me about how they deal. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The law of reciprocity or the golden rule, everyone does not use that, which means that there are some people that you're going to treat kindly, you're going to treat fairly, uh, whether in business or whether personally, and they're not going to return the favor. But this is how that works. You have to realize that things come to you again directly and indirectly. So I want to deal with the person that returns evil for your kindness. So you do them a favor or you treat them kindly and they don't return that favor. First off, that person is setting themselves up for negative reciprocation of that law. Okay, so if they're treating you unfairly, don't worry about them. In some way, shape, or form, that person gets the return on what they sold to you. Okay, so if they continue to treat people negatively, they can continue to treat relationships poorly. They don't respect them. They don't move forward the way that they're supposed to. Trust me, it's going to work itself out. So it's not your job to return evil for evil, and that's the thing I love about the Bible. Is it gives us great teachings when we really listen to it. It says don't return evil for evil. So if somebody cuts you off, someone disrespects you, someone treats you unfairly, it could be a boss. Maybe you feel like your boss does not respect you or treat you unfairly, and you've just been bearing that situation. So it doesn't matter who it is. It could be, I've been seeing this thing on Facebook, church hurt, right? And so we feel like the pastor should be the most responsible person in the building. Yes, maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter who it is or how that person treats you, how that person touches you. You make sure that you deal with people fairly because you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success for other people, whether directly or indirectly, to treat you the way that you want to be treated. Also, it allows you to move forward unhindered. Okay, so you imagine when people treat you fairly or unfairly, it really doesn't matter because you're always focused on treating people the right way. You're always focused on dealing with people in business the right way. Okay, so let's deal with business. So let's say you hire someone to do business for you, and they don't treat that business deal with respect. They don't live up to the contract. They don't live up to what they're supposed to do. Now you do have legal rights, so I'm not speaking to those legal rights right now. What I'm speaking to is, getting on Facebook and saying, you know what, and just blasting that person. No, don't blast that person because you have to realize that you're not perfect. So you may do something right 99 times, but on that 100th time you do something incorrectly and someone decides to blast you. So law of reciprocity works both ways. So you want to make sure that you treat people fairly. So you always keep yourself in a clear headspace where you're moving forward and you don't have those hindrances. When you treat people poorly, it knocks you backward. It may not knock you backward immediately, but eventually it knocks you backward, right? Let's deal with that, ruining someone's reputation. Someone doesn't treat you well in terms of the business deal. And so you decide to go out and blast them on Facebook, right? And then let's say now you're out, you're doing your thing and you're moving forward in your business. And then later someone decides to blast you. Well, in the same way that you hurt that other person's reputation, this can potentially hurt your reputation, right? So make sure that you do things fairly regardless of how people treat you. That law of reciprocity, golden rule. And it frees you up to move through life faster, right? You don't have hindrances. You're always forgiving people. You're always giving people the benefit of the doubt. You're not stupid or you're not ignorant, which means if you find out that this person does not deal fairly with other people, then guess what? Maybe I don't deal with you until you learn your lesson. I don't have to make the same mistake twice, but at the same time, I'm moving forward. Hey, because I've got some things that I want to do. I've got some things that God has planned for me. I got some things that I really need to work for, and I don't have time to stop and try to repay evil with evil every time that someone does something negative or every time someone does something that I don't like. I don't have time for that. The only thing that I have time for is to make sure that I'm maximizing my potential at my best. And the way that you maximize your potential at your best is always focusing on the good and positive aspects of what's happening. Now, turning that mirror on yourself, it is good to reflect. Again, we said that none of us are perfect, but rather than sweeping something under the rug, reach out to someone. Again, I've got somebody right now that I need to reach out to, that I'm going to reach out to today. And, you pick up the phone and say, hey, look, I didn't handle this situation in the best way. And I want to get this, I just want to apologize. I want to get this right. And you make amends with that person rather than sweeping it under the rug and saying, you know what, I'm just going to let this fly. They're going to forget it. Or, if you left something out that you were supposed to do, let's say in business or maybe concerning your job or whatever the case may be, and you say, you know what, I'm just going to sweep that under the rug. Well, sweep it under the rug if you want to, but in some kind of way, shape or form, it is going to come back to you. So how can this come back? Somebody can still, treat me unfairly, but maybe they come back and they apologize because I took the time to apologize to other people or to get it right. And so people come and make amends. And so you're able to restore those relationships, right? Life is about relationships. No man is an island. We always hear that. But one of the things that I'm learning every single day is that it's important how you manage relationships because you don't know who has the key to your success. It could be the least likely person that has the key to your success, right? We talked about the situation in the classroom. So there's someone in the classroom, let's go back to the high school days, where you felt that they were insignificant. But in some way, shape, or form, it comes back. Let's say, this is the person that ends up being a boss in a certain area or owns a business or has a relationship in a certain area, and your child has an interest in that area, and now this person has an opportunity to make the connection for them. This has happened to me. I've actually had a relationship, a community relationship with someone where they did not treat that relationship in the right way. And I actually told the person, I said, hey, look, I don't feel like you're being fair in this particular situation. And, I just wanted to be upfront with you and honest. And I said, honestly, you never know how situations come back to serve you. And so this person actually, they didn't take the advice and they actually ended up moving from the area because they thought, hey, look, we won't ever cross paths again. I'm moving from the area, so we don't need to treat each other fairly. I mean, I hear what he's saying, but this doesn't really matter. Well, as it turns out, this person actually ends up moving back into town, and they needed something done, and the person that they will work or they wanted to work with actually reached out to me to ask for a character reference. So how can something like that happen? Where I'm working with this person. I tell them about themselves. I'm giving them an opportunity to make amends, to make things right. They move away, states away, and then within 2 years they end up moving back, and I'm the person that ends up getting a call regarding a character reference. And so that goes to show that regardless of how significant you feel the relationship is or how insignificant you feel the relationship is, that you always have to deal with people fairly, because you never know who's going to open the door for you. You never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. And so if you want things to be reciprocated in a positive way, then you need to make sure that you're dealing with people fairly. You need to make sure that you're dealing with people kindly. You need to make sure that you're not repaying evil with evil, because we all make mistakes, even if we do things right 99.9% of that time, 99.9% of the time, that 0.01% of the time that you do things wrong could be the very time that someone decides to hurt your reputation. So again, the R and G, the law of reciprocity, the way you treat other people is the way that you want it returned to you. And the golden rule, I'm going to restate it and restate it those ways that I've taught this morning, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Secondly, don't do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. And thirdly and lastly, do unto others as if it will be done unto you in the same way. Okay? All right, guys, that's all I have for this morning. I want to do a quick shout out to some people, and I won't name them because I didn't ask them this morning, but I really see some people out there trying hard who have their own live feeds now. They're doing this on a weekly basis. Hey, you guys are doing some great things. I love it. I'm going to have some more of you on here. Some of you guys have reached out to me during the week and let me know, hey, I want to start my own business. And that's great. Please continue doing that. This is why I'm here. I'm not here to entertain myself. I'm not here for an emotional booster. I'm here because I realize how important it is to understand your purpose and to pursue it. And so I want to encourage you to do the same thing. So, hey, guys, if you have time, this Wednesday we may be meeting Will and I. I don't know if we're going to do a morning or an afternoon session, but I certainly will make an announcement on Facebook. So if you need to know about the stock market, if you have some questions or you want to hear from a professional, please stay tuned to see what we do on Wednesday. If not, we'll be back here on Monday morning. You guys take care and have a fantastic week.